There's a truth we all come to face sooner or later in life. Pain doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't knock politely at the door. It doesn't wait for a convenient time to arrive. It crashes in, it interrupts, it cuts deep. Pain shows up whether we're ready or not. And more often than not, we're not. Life is going to hit you. It's going to blindside you. Someone will leave you when you needed them most. A door you were sure would open will stay locked. The opportunity you prepared for might go to someone else. Your plans might unravel overnight. Pain is not personal. It visits everyone, rich or poor, strong or weak, prepared or unprepared. And here's what we usually do. We react, we hurt, we get angry, we ask, why me? That's a natural question. It's human, but I want to ask you a different question, a more powerful one. What now? Because once pain arrives, the only thing that truly matters is what you do with it. Pain is inevitable, but growth, that part's up to you. You don't get to decide if life will challenge you, but you do get to decide how you respond. You can either become bitter, or you can become better. You can shut down, or you can show up stronger. You can blame the world, or you can build yourself. That's the difference between going through something and growing through something. Most people go through it. They endure, they survive, they wait for the storm to pass and then go back to who they were before, unchanged. But growth means you go through it with intention. You go through it looking for the lesson, reaching for the strength, stretching yourself to see what else is inside you that pain has come to reveal. Pain is a teacher, not a gentle one, but a truthful one. It strips away the fake, it burns off the superficial. It shows you what really matters, it exposes what you've been ignoring. It will force you to look in the mirror, not just at what's outside, but at who you are when things fall apart. In those moments when everything feels uncertain and unfair, you're standing at a crossroads. You can choose to let the pain define you, or you can choose to let it refine you. Growth is optional because not everyone chooses it. Not everyone wants to do the inner work that pain demands. It's easier to point fingers, easier to numb it, to avoid it, to stay in a comfort zone even when it's toxic. But those who grow, they do something different. They take responsibility even for the things they didn't cause. They don't look at pain as punishment. They look at it as preparation. They believe that life isn't happening to them. It's happening for them. Think about this. The most powerful people you've ever heard of, the ones who inspire, uplift, and lead others, they didn't become that way through comfort. They became that way through pain. Through nights they didn't think they'd survive, through losses they didn't think they'd recover from, through storms they had no map for. But they didn't just go through those storms. They grew through them. They made a decision, a quiet one, maybe even a desperate one, that said, this won't break me, this will build me. That's what growth is. It's a decision, a mindset, a way of seeing the fire and choosing to walk through it, not to burn, but to become something stronger on the other side. Pain may be life's greatest test, but growth is your personal response. The question isn't whether life will test you. It will. The real question is whether you'll allow it to transform you, whether you'll step into the discomfort and mine it for the treasure it holds, whether you'll let it wake up a deeper level of you that you didn't even know existed. Growth doesn't show up when everything is comfortable. Growth doesn't arrive with fanfare and applause. It doesn't announce itself during moments of ease and predictability. It sneaks in when the lights go out. It finds you when your plans fall apart. It comes to life in the middle of discomfort, confusion, and pressure. That's the truth most people don't want to face. Growth doesn't happen on the mountain top. It's born in the valley. It lives in the struggle. You see, we've been conditioned to associate struggle with something going wrong. When we feel resistance, we assume we must have made a mistake. When it hurts, we think we've failed. But what if that pain, that pressure, that discomfort, what if it's not a sign you're off course, but confirmation that you're in the process of becoming? Growth is not an easy guest. It doesn't walk in the front door. It breaks something open inside of you. It cracks the foundation you thought was unshakable, so that something stronger can be rebuilt. And the tools it uses aren't polished or pleasant. They're sharp, unpredictable, sometimes messy. Struggle is one of its favorite tools. Think about the seed before it becomes a tree. It's buried in darkness, it's under pressure, it's surrounded by dirt. It has to break open before it can break through. Without the struggle, there is no sprouting. Without the pressure, there is no potential. It's the very process of pushing against resistance that brings out its strength. And so it is with you. You're not being punished when you struggle. You're being prepared. You're being stretched. You're being strengthened in ways you can't always see in the moment. And yet, it's in the middle of that pressure that something new begins to grow inside you. You start discovering pieces of yourself that were lying dormant. You find endurance you didn't know you had. You uncover courage you hadn't been called to use before. Struggle doesn't come to destroy. It comes to develop. We live in a world obsessed with comfort, quick answers, instant success, minimal resistance. But real growth laughs in the face of shortcuts. It demands something from you. It asks for your commitment, your fight, your vulnerability, and your resilience. Struggle is how growth separates the ones who are merely interested in change from the ones who are committed to it. When you're in the struggle, it's tempting to wish it away, to beg for a shortcut, to numb yourself and go back to what's familiar, even if what's familiar is suffocating. But if you stay in the struggle just long enough, if you lean into it instead of resisting it, you start to notice that something is happening. You're not the same, you're thinking differently, you're stronger, you've stopped settling, you've raised your standards, you've become more aware of who you are and what you will no longer tolerate. Struggle strips away everything that doesn't belong to your future. It peels off the layers that are attached to your past, and in doing so, it reveals a version of you that's been buried under fear, doubt, and routine. You don't meet that version of you on the easy days. You meet them in the middle of the grind, in the middle of tears you didn't plan to cry, in the moments where quitting seems logical, but something in your spirit tells you to keep going. The world may never see the struggle you've endured. They may only see the results, the achievement, the transformation, but you'll know. You'll remember the nights you didn't sleep, the days you almost gave up, the battles you fought alone. And you'll understand that was where the growth happened, not in the applause, not in the celebration, but in the fight no one saw. Struggle is not the enemy. It's the environment where your true self is forged, where grit is grown, where vision is sharpened, where your why becomes bigger than your excuses. Growth doesn't happen when you're safe. It happens when you step into the unknown and keep moving forward, even when everything in you wants to turn back. It's not what happens to you that defines your future. It's how you see what happens. Two people can go through the exact same situation. One comes out stronger, wiser, more focused. The other comes out bitter, broken, and stuck. What made the difference? Not the pain, not the pressure, not the size of the storm. The difference was perspective. Your perspective is the lens through which you interpret your circumstances. It's the meaning you assign to the events in your life, and that meaning determines how you move forward, or if you move forward at all. If you believe your current struggle is proof that you're failing, you'll shrink. But if you believe your struggle is fuel for growth, you'll rise. That choice, that mental shift, is where real power begins. You can't always control what life throws at you, but you can control how you see it. Perspective isn't just passive, it's powerful. It's the difference between being a victim of your life and becoming the author of your story. And the way you choose to interpret the moment you're in determines the momentum you'll carry into what comes next. Pain by itself does not produce power. Adversity alone doesn't guarantee growth. What transforms the pain into power is how you frame it, how you speak about it, how you choose to see what it's doing in you. People get stuck in pain because they attach the wrong meaning to it. They say, "This means I'm not good enough. This means I'll never succeed. This means it wasn't meant for me." But none of that is truth. That's perspective, and it's one that disempowers. Shift the perspective, and you change everything. What if instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" That one question changes the entire emotional tone of your life. It moves you out of resistance and into awareness. It takes you from powerless to purposeful. Suddenly, the same struggle becomes a source of wisdom. The same failure becomes a lesson. The same delay becomes preparation. Your perspective also influences what you focus on. And what you focus on expands. If you focus only on what you've lost, you'll feel like you're constantly behind. But if you choose to focus on what you're learning, what you're gaining, what you're building inside, even while things are falling apart around you, you'll discover that progress is still possible. Even in the dark, perspective shapes your identity. When you carry a negative lens, you start to tell yourself stories that limit you. Stories like, "This always happens to me," or "I can't handle this," or "I'll never catch a break." But when you shift the lens, when you begin to see struggle as a signal for growth, those stories change. You start to say, "This is shaping me," or "I've been through worse and made it," or "This might be hard, but it's not the end." A new story, new strength. New lens, new life. The most powerful people you'll ever meet are not the ones who avoided hardship. They're the ones who saw their hardship through a different lens. They didn't just survive what happened, they used it. They interpreted it in a way that gave them leverage. They looked at what tried to break them and said, "This is going to build me." Every struggle comes with a question. What story are you telling yourself about this? Because the story becomes the script you live by. You can tell a story of defeat, or you can tell a story of development. You can tell a story where you're the victim, or a story where you're the victor. The facts don't change, but the frame does. Perspective isn't about denying reality, it's about expanding it. It's about seeing more than just what's wrong. It's seeing what's possible in the middle of what's wrong. It's seeing how the setback might carry within it the seed of your comeback. It's refusing to let pain define your identity and choosing instead to let it refine your perspective. When your perspective changes, your posture changes. You stop slumping in discouragement and you start standing in resilience. You start asking better questions, you start seeking better answers, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop living by fear and start leading with faith. That shift in how you see things becomes the foundation for how you do things, and ultimately, for how far you go. There are seasons in life when it feels like everything is closing in. Like the walls are tighter, the lights are dimmer, and the silence is heavier than it's ever been. You start to question whether you've been forgotten, overlooked, maybe even abandoned. You feel like you're being buried, lost beneath the weight of pressure, beneath the layers of disappointment, beneath the darkness of uncertainty. But I want to offer you a different truth, one that has the power to reshape how you experience the most difficult chapters of your life. You're not buried, you're planted. There's a difference. Buried means it's over. It means something has been hidden and left to decay. But planted means there's a future. Planted means there's something happening beneath the surface that no one can see yet. It means that transformation is already underway. It means that what looks like the end might actually be the beginning of something powerful, something rooted, something that is meant to grow. When a seed is planted, it doesn't look like progress. It looks like isolation. It looks like stillness. It looks like silence, but what's happening beneath that soil is anything but still. That seed is breaking open. Its outer shell is cracking under pressure so that something new, something alive can push through. But no one sees that part. No one celebrates that part. The growth begins in obscurity, in darkness, in the places no one applauds. That's how your growth happens too. Not in the spotlight, not when everyone's watching, but when no one is. When you're doing the work silently, when you're holding on to your vision in the dark, when you keep moving even though there's no visible evidence that it's working. That's the season where roots go deep. And let me tell you, roots are more important than recognition. Because recognition can come and go, but roots will keep you grounded when life gets stormy again. Sometimes we misread the dark. We assume the dark means we're going backward. We assume the pressure means we've made the wrong choice. We assume the silence means it's time to quit. But what if the darkness you're experiencing isn't a sign of death, but a sign of depth? What if you're being called to go deeper, not disappear? The seed doesn't grow until it surrenders, until it lets go of its former shape, until it gives in to the process of becoming, and we are no different. You can't step into who you're becoming while holding tightly to who you've been. That version of you served a purpose, but now it's time for something new to emerge. And for that to happen, a part of you has to break open. Growth demands a certain level of discomfort. It asks you to trust in what you can't see yet, to believe that something is happening even when everything around you feels still, to continue showing up to the work, the healing, the fight even when the results are invisible. That kind of faith, that kind of resilience, is what separates those who remain buried by life from those who rise through it. Planted seasons are preparation seasons. They are sacred, even when they don't feel like it. They're designed to strengthen what's hidden before exposing what's blooming. Because when the roots are ready, the breakthrough can be sustained. It's easy to want the fruit before we've grown the foundation, but nature doesn't work like that. And neither does personal transformation. You don't get long-term impact without underground preparation. You may feel forgotten right now. You may feel like life has passed you by, like your voice doesn't matter, like your effort is invisible. But just because others can't see your progress doesn't mean it's not happening. Just because it feels quiet doesn't mean you're stuck. Some of the most powerful growth happens in silence. Some of the most significant transitions occur without applause. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're being formed. You're not here to be buried by expectations, by regret, by fear, by failure. You are here to be planted, to go deep, to take root, to rise again with more strength, more purpose, and more clarity than ever before. And no matter how dark it feels right now, that darkness is not the end of your story. Life is going to come at you fast. It won't always give you time to prepare. It won't always make sense. It won't always feel fair. But no matter how unpredictable or painful it becomes, there is one thing that always remains within your control: your response. Not the circumstance, not the outcome, not other people's choices or actions. Just your response, and that response. That is your responsibility. You can't choose what happens to you, but you can choose what rises up inside of you when it does. That choice, that power to respond, is the birthplace of personal freedom, and it's also where many people hand their power away. Because it's easy to get caught in the blame game. It's easy to say, I am this way because of what they did. I'm stuck because of what I didn't have. I'm broken because of what I lost. But those aren't reflections of what happened. Those are reflections of what we've chosen to believe about what happened. And when you give the world permission to define your response, you give it permission to define your identity. Responsibility is not the same as fault. That's where most people get stuck. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you caused it. It doesn't mean you asked for it. It doesn't mean you deserved it. It simply means you've made a decision to own your reaction, your behavior, your next step. Because if you don't take ownership of your response, you end up becoming a prisoner of the pain. Every challenge you face gives you a choice: react or respond. Reacting is automatic, it's emotional, it's often rooted in fear, anger, or ego. Responding takes presence. It requires clarity, it demands maturity. Reaction is a reflex, response is a decision. The stronger your ability to respond with intention, the more resilient you become. When something unexpected hits you, a loss, a failure, a betrayal, you have seconds to decide who you're going to be in that moment. Are you going to spiral? Are you going to shrink? Are you going to lash out, run, or shut down? Or are you going to breathe? Are you going to pause and choose a response that reflects your values instead of your wounds? Responsibility is leadership over your own life. It's refusing to let your emotions hijack your future. It's the discipline to rise above the initial reaction and anchor yourself in something deeper. Truth, vision, character. And it's not easy. It takes practice. It takes intention. It takes the kind of self-awareness that most people avoid because it's uncomfortable to look at yourself in the mirror and admit, I can't control this situation, but I can control how I show up. Inside it, your response is your power because it becomes the foundation of your habits, your relationships, your mindset. Over time, those daily responses stack up into something bigger. Your reputation, your impact, your future. The small, silent decisions you make when no one's watching become the building blocks of your identity. When you take responsibility for your response, you're no longer at the mercy of your environment. You stop being a puppet pulled by every external circumstance. You start becoming the kind of person who can walk through fire and still speak peace. The kind of person who can be surrounded by chaos and still carry clarity. The kind of person who doesn't just survive the storm, but leads others through it. This level of ownership requires inner work. It requires rewiring how you think about pressure, failure, and disappointment. It means choosing growth when it's inconvenient. Choosing to pause instead of panic. Choosing to listen instead of attack. Choosing to build instead of blame. These are not easy choices, but they are powerful ones, and they separate those who drift through life from those who shape it. You cannot wait for life to be perfect to start responding with purpose. You can't wait for people to apologize or the pain to disappear or the confusion to clear. You have to choose every single day to take full responsibility for how you respond, no matter what you face. That's where your freedom lies. That's where your strength is forged. That's where the story changes. Not when the situation changes, but when you change how you meet it. We've all been through moments that tested us, moments that pushed us, broke us, silenced us, and made us question if we'd ever find our way back. But the question is not whether you've been through something. The real question is, did you grow through it? Did it leave you the same, or did it wake something up inside of you? Because pain is going to come. Struggle is going to find you, the storm will hit, but what you do with it, that's where your power lies. Growth doesn't knock on the door of convenience. It doesn't show up during comfort. It shows up in the middle of the mess. It shows up when everything feels like it's falling apart, and quietly asks, who are you going to be right now? You've got to make a decision. Not just once, but every single day, to stop asking why me, and start asking what now, to shift your perspective until the pressure becomes purpose. To stop calling it a burial and start recognizing it as a planting, and above all, to take full ownership of how you show up, how you respond, and how you rise. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not what went wrong. You are what you choose to build from it. This isn't about surviving the fire. It's about learning how to come out stronger, not just going through it, growing through it.